Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your Friday night live show on the United Stand and your latest transfer news as we talk second bids for Mbeumo. Should we really be concerned about Tottenham? Also a big update from Gyokeres around his agent, the transfer fee, heating up. Also, we've got an update on Garnacho and where he could be going, and Cunha has been speaking about why he chose Manchester United and why Amorim convinced him. And it's a Friday night show, so that means lots and lots of opportunity for you lot to get your comments in too. So do that. And we're going to start off talking about Mbeumo. I'm feeling a bit hot, actually. I'm feeling a bit hot. I don't know why. But I tell you what is hot, Sleeper. We're sponsored by Sleeper tonight. I've mentioned Sleeper before. If you didn't know what it is, it's a sports app. It's the #1 downloaded sports app in the US during NFL season launch, beating ESPN and Yahoo. Millions use it every day to stay in the game. Known for delivering the best fantasy experience, Sleeper now gives football fans unmatched customization, real-time stats, and all the emotion of the game in one place. Also, Sleeper brings the Club World Cup to life with a free-to-play prediction tournament where every match gives you a shot at 1,000 in prizes. Predict match outcomes, score points, and the top 3 on the leaderboard each match day wins $1,000 worth of prizes. It's that simple. The overall winner of the tournament also wins an extra $1,000. All this plus the fantastic features you already know and love with Sleeper's Fantasy Draft and their prediction games too. You're in control of what you see, what you watch, and what you play, and it's all free to play. Sounds good? Get involved with Sleeper. We'll see you there. Fantastic little app. Links in the description. Scan the QR code. Click the link in the description if you're on mobile. Scan the QR code if you're on desktop. Absolutely fantastic. I don't know what's wrong with my eye, actually. I'm sort of getting, I don't know, I feel like I've got, I don't know, weird. I can see that lens, that arm of my glasses, which is just very off-putting, which is weird. It's really weird. Anyway, yeah, check out Sleeper. Absolutely fantastic. It's not actually my glasses. I don't know what it is. There's something in my peripheral. Oh, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. Right, we're going to talk about Mbeumo. Let's talk about Mbeumo. But what's that? Something in my peripheral vision. I'm like Spider-Man. That's it. It's all sorted now. No, it's not. It's still there. It's really annoying. What is it? Is it the light? All right, I'll just have to get on with it. Anyway, let's get on with the show. We're going to talk about Mbeumo to start off with. I mean, look, at the end of the day, can I just start off with some news? June the 4th, Manchester United submit opening offer to sign Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. £45 million plus 10 million in add-ons, some way below that of the fee that Brentford want to consider a sale. Talks ongoing as Manchester United work to agree a deal. 25-year-old Cameroon forward are keen on transfer to Manchester United. David Ornstein. Also, June the 2nd, Mbeumo exclusive. Mbeumo decides he wants to join Manchester United and Man United now open talks with Brentford in bid to sign him. Arsenal, Newcastle, Tottenham all interested, but Cameroon International favours Old Trafford if deal can be agreed. So today I have to deal with, ooh, Tottenham are going to put a bid in. Ooh, Tottenham are going to steal Man United's Mbeumo. Ooh, Thomas have got Thomas Frank. And I'm like, Tottenham have got Thomas Frank. I'm like, hold on a minute. Tottenham were one of the teams he snubbed 2 weeks ago. Tottenham were already there. People forget this. It wasn't Newcastle. It was Newcastle, Tottenham and Arsenal that David Ornstein mentioned. Thomas Frank going to Tottenham doesn't change the bloody situation at all. He wants to sign for Tottenham. He wants to sign for Man United. We'll read what Cunha said about Man United in a few minutes' time, but I'm not stressed about this at all. Tantric says things change. I think you're just all panicking for over nothing. I really do. There is nobody in the industry that's saying you should be panicked. There's nobody saying worry about it. This is just natural negotiations, and it actually is only 2 weeks that we started talking to Brentford. It's 2 weeks on Monday that David Ornstein dropped that exclusive. So we're not even 2 weeks in. We know United take weeks. We were talking about that this morning. It will take weeks. I actually think Tottenham's supposed interest will help us because all it's doing is smoking United's second bid out. And United have got to put a second bid in. 45 million plus 10 is not going to be enough. and it's not enough. I think 50 plus 10 might get it over the line, but we haven't offered enough money. So we're not going to get the deal done until we put the second bid in, and we've not put the second bid in yet. So I think this second bid from Manchester United will go in very, very soon. And I think when that goes in, they'll either reject it or accept it. But just because Spurs want to pay £70 million, by the way, doesn't make a bloody difference. It doesn't make a difference at all. If I want to go out and have dinner with Mrs. Goldbridge at the local pub, and then I get a phone call from another pub saying we'll give you a free meal and a free dessert and free drinks, and I go, but I really want to go to this restaurant. And I don't even like your restaurant that much. So you can give me free whatever. I don't really like it. I want to go to this one. And Mrs. Goldbridge might be going, let's go to the free one. I'm going, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. And that's the same thing with Mbeumo. Tottenham can offer what they bloody well like. Brentford can accept what they bloody well like. But if the player wants to come to Manchester United, then they're going to struggle to get that deal done. So I'm very relaxed about this. I just think, and it's really, really well timed, because we were talking about this on the morning show. It's June and people start to get stressed. And we are advancing on Mbeumo. We will get him. It's just going to take a little bit of time. We have the player. Tottenham don't have the player. Thomas Frank doesn't have the player. Brentford can't persuade the player to do something else. We've got the player. Unless we pull out, in which case we shouldn't have been in there in the first place. That's what she said. Look, don't go in if you can't deal with the consequences. That's not just football. That's a life lesson as well. Pulling out might be too late. You know, I think the deal is done as soon as that bid goes in for the second time. And I'm not worried about Tottenham, because you know what? Some people need to do their bloody research. Tottenham were one of the clubs he rejected for us in the first place. Thomas Frank going there, I don't think that makes a blind bit of difference, because I don't see Tottenham having a very good next 2 years. I really don't see Tottenham anywhere near the top four in the next 2 years, whereas I think we can be. And, you know, you can quote me on that. Munaradin says, proud to become a member, but forever hammer him out, or scammer him out. Thank you, Munaradin, for becoming a member. Hi, Mark. Hope you have a good day. Are you planning on doing watch-alongs for the Inter Miami game and games in the Club World Cup on That's Football, says Leroy. Mate, I think you've got to be a really sad case to... Robert McCormack will do it, let's be honest. You've got to be a real sad case to be watching some of them shit games, let's be honest. I mean, as I said, I was in the States last week. They're not interested. So, look, if you've got nothing else to do, then you can come round and cut my grass for free instead. I'll watch some of the games. I might watch some of the knockout games. But, I mean, you know, it might be a load of shit as well. It might be an absolute load of shit. Mbeumo is ours. Have faith, says Billy. Quick one. Any idea what's happened with Malacia, says Payne. Couldn't give a shit, honestly. It's Friday night. Cheers. Haven't given it a second thought and won't be giving it another thought. Actually, do not care what's happening with Malacia. We'll get rid of him, won't we? Bruno's going to make Gyokeres look like Hoyland, says Munaradin. I'll warn you now, mate. You're not dominating tonight's show with shit comments. You know, you've had two. Joker, welcome to the... Thank you for being a member for 36 months. Spurs beating Sir Jim in the Europa final, also in the transfer market, but now also in the courts. Is adding insults, says Joe. We're not losing Mbeumo to Spurs. People are they're just not understanding the situation of when a player pick... Look at what happened with Bayern Munich, Wirtz and Liverpool. He decided that he wanted Liverpool, and Bayern Munich can't do anything about it. So since when, as a transfer... changed because a club decides they want the player, but the player doesn't want to go there? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and I'm not worried about it. And I know people are being antagonistic, and you know they're trolling, and they're trying to be divisive. But come on, common sense. We will get this deal done. We will get this deal done. I'm hearing people say, if United don't bid, they'll walk away and do a bid for Gyokeres. We're not walking away from this deal. We'd look like absolute dickheads. We've literally won. We've had the Ornstein bomber, and then we walk away. Come on. I'll sign João Pedro over Ekitike as plan C or D. Proven cheaper and way better, says Desiree. If it was Mbeumo's contract in your peripheral, says Phil81, Who was going to be your captain if Bruno left, says Munaradin. Okay, that's it. 3 strikes and you're out. I won't be reading another one. Join me at 1 a.m. tomorrow for Inter Miami, says Robert McCormack. And get the feeling Brentford will be pushing this story out to get us to up the bid and get the deal done. Yeah, Lance, look, it's in Brentford's interest to get the money they need for the player they want to sell ASAP. Absolutely, completely agree with that. But you know what? The second bid will go in. I wouldn't be surprised if it went in very, very soon. It might not get accepted. I mean, look at what happened with Branthwaite in the summer. Branthwaite wanted to come to us. We didn't bid what was required, and we didn't get Branthwaite. That's the bigger concern. Absolutely, that is the biggest concern because, you know, we didn't get Branthwaite, and we wanted Branthwaite, but we wouldn't bid enough, and we walked away. I said that last summer, that was a good thing. I praised Ineos for walking away. I thought Everton were asking for stupid money. I don't think Brentford are asking for stupid money. I think £60 million package for a 25-year-old Premier League proven winger who scored a shitload of goals, I think it's a fair deal. Second time Mbeumo and Gyokeres nailed on all and Mark, says Scott Treacher. Okay, thank you very much for that. Also, just got something coming in here about Gyokeres. Sporting have given Victor Gyokeres the assurance that he'll be allowed to leave this summer for 60 to 70 million euros. I can guarantee one thing, Victor Gyokeres will not leave for 60 plus 10 from the Sporting president earlier. Either fake news or the biggest U-turn imaginable. Oh, sorry, I'm reading that from Matt, our producer there. But this has come out literally in the last few minutes. From Plettigol, Florian Plettenberg. Sporting have given Gyokeres the assurance that he will be allowed to leave this summer for 60 to 70 million euros. We did obviously have the president of Sporting saying he won't let him go for 60 million euros plus 10. But, you know, interesting. What's also interesting about this is that the agent of Victor Gyokeres has basically said that he's got it in writing. So let me read this out. I mean, look, talks are going to hot up with as soon as this gets resolved, it will start to hot up with Gyokeres. That's the information we've got. You know, as Fabrizio has said all week, we're in daily contact with Sporting. We were in contact last weekend. We are daily contact with Gyokeres at Sporting to try and get this deal done. But the big hold up here is that Sporting and Gyokeres have had this, you know, issue. But this is what his agent has basically said this. Where is it? So Gyokeres' agent, Ketin Kaya, I don't know, is the latest to speak out about the situation. So according to Swedish newspaper Aftonbladet, the businessman stated he has proof of the alleged agreement that he made with Sporting that Gyokeres can in fact leave the club for £59 million this summer. So £59 million this summer is still, yeah, it's about 65 million euros, isn't it? Yeah. So I mean, look, we're all splitting hairs here. I think that. Sitin Kea, says Zero Blade. Thank you very much. Yeah, look, I think this is just, again, I think in some ways this probably plays into our hands that we're not really in a mad rush to sign Gyokeres because we're trying to do this Mbeumo deal anyway. If this drifts a little bit, then that's a good thing. But you know what I think about this week, because it is Friday. I think that this week has drifted a little bit. We've come out of it with nothing. And that's not the end of the world. You know, it's still the 13th of June. But when I look at the start of the week, when Fabrizio said, expect something between Gyokeres and Man United in the next few days, here we are on Friday, and it's sort of held up a little bit. And Mbeumo is still being negotiated. So I'd like to see United move forward. But I think with the Sporting and Gyokeres story, I think we do have to be a little bit sympathetic to the fact that this is not really to do with Manchester United. We are there. We do want to negotiate. We are in contact with Sporting on a regular basis. But there is a conflict between Sporting and Gyokeres at the moment about the fee. And you can't negotiate with Sporting until What's the point in Man United? Put it like this, right? You want to buy a car, right? And you really like the car. It's advertised for sale. You turn up. You're talking to the husband. He's not married to the car. I did a video on that once, actually. You're talking to the bloke who lives at the house, right? And he says, yeah, you can have it for this price. Then the wife comes out, or husband, could be could be two blokes married. Let's not get into all that. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, two people, right? First one comes out and says, this is the price. Second one comes out and says, no, I'm not selling it for that. And we both own it together. And you're sort of like going, okay, I want this, but you two need to go and have a conversation because I'm not putting an offer in because you're not going to accept it, are you? And I'm not paying the stupid price that she wants. I want to pay the price that he says. So you two need to sort it out amongst yourselves and then I'll come to the table. And that's basically, we're not having a threesome, by the way. Yeah, I'm not coming on the table or anything like that. But this is what's happening with Man United. We are there on a daily basis saying, have you resolved it? Have you resolved it? Have you resolved it? And Sporting and Gyokeres need to resolve it because we can't bid in this situation. We'd be an idiot. Basically, Sporting probably want 80 million euros. If we just go and pay that, there might be something in right. I mean, look, let me put it another way. It's in Manchester United's interests to be talking to Gyokeres' agent and saying, get that price down. Get that price down. So, look, I don't think we can be too precious or too anxious or too impatient on this because they actually are, we are in contact with Sporting on a daily basis, but Gyokeres and Sporting need to sort this out. And still today, there are comments coming out from presidents and agents about what's going to happen. Do you think we'll get Gyokeres, Mark? Yes, I do. I still do. I'm not going to go higher than 70% because it's been a bit of a weird week, but I still have been very confident since last Sunday. I have, and I'm still very confident because I think that what we've learned with Manchester United in the last year is that when they lock in on something, they do tend to get it done. Like Yoro for me last summer was the real eye-opener. I was like, oh, we're not going to get that done. We're not going to get that done. And we did. Cunha, we locked in on it and we got it done. De Ligt, we got it done. Mazraoui, we got it done. Xerxes, we got it done. The only one we didn't get done was Branthwaite, and that's because we didn't want to pay what Everton wanted. So I think that, all right, Elise at the start of the window, Kenda, I agree. Yeah, we didn't do that. Delap. But I think we will get this one done. I hope so, anyway. KC, thank you very much for your super chat tonight. He says, here's a wild thought. Do you think Sporting would take Rasmus and 20 million for Gyokeres? I don't think Rasmus would go to Sporting. With all due respect to Sporting and the Portuguese league, it's not really a place that somebody that's 22, maybe not had the best time in the Premier League, is going to want to go and do that. They're not going to want to do that. Do you think Rashford will end up on loan again, says Maliki? I think it's embarrassing for Rashford if he's got to go on loan again because it just shows that people don't want to buy him. But it's probably very, very likely. I think Garnacho is the player that we need to move on. He's the one that's going to give us the money. Yeah. 59 million is a bargain for a player like Gyokeres, says Mikel. And Constantine says, you can't look too far into stats, but with such a poor XG last season, my hope is players like Cunha and Mbeumo will help that. But the question is by how much? Yes. Well, it's goals, isn't it? They all scored goals. Gyokeres as well. Welcome to Members Club, Josh. Thank you very much. And Smoggy Monster says, why does it always take us so long to make a new bid? It baffles me. If we want him, just make a new freaking bid. You know why it takes us a long time to put the second bid in, and we've always done this? It's because we're trying to save money, Smoggy, basically. We're just trying to save money. We're trying to play a game. But sometimes you're right. You can't play the game. I've played the game. But you can't play a game when... I always said this about Mbeumo. I was surprised we got him. Well, we haven't got him, but I was surprised we won the race. And we did win the race. Where we're failing is getting the deal done with Brentford. But I remember saying this about Mbeumo. I was sort of like, I don't know how we're going to win this race because Newcastle want him and they've got 60 million quid. So they've also got Champions League football. So if we want Mbeumo, he's going to have to want to come to us and we're going to have to pay what Brentford want. I understand Brentford's position. I remember saying this when I was live streaming from New York. Like, we're going to have to pay what Brentford want because it's not a one-horse race. There are other clubs that want him that will probably be saying to Brentford, we'd happily give you 60 million. So Man United are going to have to pay, because if you're Brentford, you're going to go, look, I appreciate the player wants to go to you, and we respect that. But there are other clubs in this race that will give us the money, and you won't. And I think United are trying to get the price down, which is their job. But at some point, you've got to move on, haven't you? Wesley, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. Like Delap, you're wrong about Mbeumo, Spurs bound, says Chris. I wasn't wrong about Delap. It wasn't me. It was information. And I wasn't wrong about that anyway. We were trying to sign him. You know, he was a high priority target. Everybody reported it. Grow up, Chris. What is a 9 out of 10 transfer window for you, says Karen? 9 out of 10 would be Sancho gone, Garnacho gone, Rashford gone. Well, I suppose Casemiro gone, so I can bring a midfielder in. And then Gyokeres, Cunha, and Mbeumo, a really good midfielder, a goalkeeper, an Arna gone, a fullback. Yeah, I think that would be a 9 out of 10, definitely. Any talk of young players coming up other than Leon, Amas and Obi? I have a feeling there may be kids on the bench depending on our sales, says Jay. Look, I don't mind young players coming through. Obviously at Manchester United, that's what we're all about. But to be honest with you, I've seen, tell me the last young player to deliver at Man United. We burned them all. So I don't think now is the time to be thinking, let's throw a load of kids in a solution. It's not 96. We need some good signings this season. Who are your favourite transfer journalists that you trust, says Alistair? Look, there's a lot of bullshitters out there. It's the bullshit season. I've been doing this for 10 years. There's just so many people making stuff up. They don't, I read a couple of things today and I'm like, I can understand why people are retweeting it, but it's fucking obvious. Like, you can't be proved wrong on it. Like, stuff like this. Man United are contemplating a second bid for Mbeumo, and then they're going to bid for Gyokeres. How do you prove that wrong? You can't prove it wrong. It's just bullshit, and that's what people do. Ornstein and Romano are... Look, I know people at Man United. I can ask people at Man United officially for stuff. I also have people at there who give me information, and I know for a fact that there's nobody getting the information that David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano get. It was obvious last year. They're the most reliable Manchester United journalists for whatever reason. And I know for a fact that it annoys the shit out of all the other journalists who attend the press conferences, because they follow Man United around to Asia and the US, home and away, and they don't get the transfer stuff given to them that Romano and Ornstein get. They're the best two when it comes down to it. I'll sell. If we sell Shaw, we're not going to sell Shaw, Liam. We're not going to sell Shaw. Absolutely not. How much would we get? Liam, we'd have to pay somebody to take Luke Shaw. He's got 2-3 years left on his contract on 200 grand a week. Yeah, we're not getting any money for him. Let me give you, just on outgoings though, there is an update that's come in this evening and I want to talk about what Cunha's said, but there is an update that's come in tonight from Plettigol, who seems to, well, obviously, I think Plettigol's quite decent, especially around German stuff. Just by the way on that as well, he's still got pinned in his feed on X, Arsenal Sesko. So, yeah, I think that hopefully will still happen. But this is in relation to Alejandro Garnacho. Leverkusen, very unlikely. Overall package of transfer and wages, they're focused on other options. So, Garnacho, Ten Hag, Leverkusen, looking like a no at the moment. But, look, Napoli is still a yes. Premier League is still an option. I think with Garnacho, he is the... Unfortunately, I'm not necessarily over the moon about this one, but Garnacho is the player that represents the profit. It's sad, actually, because I stand by what I said in January. I don't think we should be selling 20-year-olds who've not fulfilled their potential. It's not what Man United should be. It's what Chelsea do. The way Chelsea moved Conor Gallagher on, I think, was disgusting for a football club that has a player who's come through their youth setup and, is still young. and wants to play for them and they sell him off for pure profit, I don't think it's a very nice way of running football clubs. But Sir Jim's desperate to do this because he loves what Chelsea do. Hopefully we're not going to do it with Mainu. I don't think we will. But I think with Garnacho, it's obviously going to happen. And if in defence of it, if we didn't do this, where's the money coming from? If we weren't selling Garnacho, where is any income coming from this summer? He's the only player that represents actual funds for transfers. There is no other player. You know, when you think about it, there is no other player that's going to make us any money to spend. Garnacho, if he goes for 40 million, 45 million, whatever, that's going straight into the budget as pure profit. But Rashford's probably not going to go. I don't see where Rashford's going to go for money. I think a loan deal is probably the most likely thing. Anthony, we're not going to break even on that, or barely. Anana, we won't break even on that. Rasmus, we won't break even on that. Malacia will get next to nothing. Garnacho's the only player that we can sell and make money. Adel says Anthony, we can't make money on Anthony. We make about 5 million, mate. If we're lucky, we'll make. I think we need 30 million to break even. So if we get 35, we make 5 million. It's look. I'm never going to change my mind. I'm happy to get proved wrong, but I'm never going to change my mind. This is why Bruno, to me, was just 100 million of pure profit, and I'd have done it. And I'll go mad if we sell Mainu. I don't think we will. But if we sell Mainu and Garnacho to make money when we could have took £100 million for Bruno, I will bloody lose it. It will just piss me right off because we do need money. It'll help us buy players. But it's hard to generate money. We're always crap at selling players. And somebody said it's going to take 2 or 3 years for Ineos to sort this out. Is it? Look at the players they've bought already. If they sold De Ligt tomorrow, would they make any profit? No. Mazraoui? Not really. Yoro, they might make some profit at some point. Xerxes, not going to make any profit on him. Dorgu, way too early. So this is not... I think people think in a couple of years this will be fine, this will stop happening. But it won't stop happening. Even the players we've bought now aren't going to make us massive amounts of profit. It's just the way football is. It's not even a United thing. The only way to make money in football now is to sell really young players that you buy cheap or you develop from your youth setup. And that's not a good thing for football. And it's not Manchester United's fault either. But it's not, you know, people say, oh, after 3 years we'll have got rid of Luke Shaw and this, that and the other. But it's very difficult to, I mean, I think that when you look at Cunha, there's no resale value. There'll be no resale value. When you look at Mbeumo, there's no resale value. When you look at Gyokeres, there'll be no resale value. And I was talking to somebody about this a couple of months ago, and it's a good opportunity to say it on a Friday night. We need to buy experienced players. Absolutely need to buy experienced players. But you can see why clubs, I mean, I call Chelsea, I was calling us it as well, Leonardo DiCaprio FC, because everything's under 23. But you can see why they're doing it. You buy them under 23 because then there's more chance of a resale value when they're older. But there isn't much chance of a resale. I mean, look, we're going to pay 60 million for Cunha. We'll never get that back. I think he's going to be a brilliant signing, by the way, but we'll never get it back. Here's a wild thought. Sorry, I've read that one before. Talking of Cunha, I do want to read some of the stuff that he said because I know it's all about, well, look, it's a Friday night show. We can talk about what we bloody well like. But I did want to talk about this because I think it's really, really insightful into, you know, what Manchester United's always about. He said, look, when you always dream to play for United, it's easier to make this decision. For me, no one is like United. When you have the possibility to come here, I know it's a hard season for everyone, but I think my decision shows a lot what this club is for me and what I believe it can be. I'll do everything I can to manage this inside of me to play for my dream team. He also said on Amrim, apart from everything I say about the club, you know, I follow this as my dream club, everything like that. I think he was very important to bringing me here as well. I believe in him, everything he did in Portugal. I hope he can conquer the world like he did in Portugal. But of course, I think he needs players who can do everything like I am open to doing and help the team and help him. All the conversations we had made my decisions easier. So look, you know, I think that's fantastic. from him. Look, he also acknowledged it. He said, "Look, I think my decision to join United, maybe outside they don't understand. It was a little bit, little bit complicated. But the reason he's at Manchester United is because he loves the football club. He wants to be here, and he obviously believes in the project that Ruben Amorim has sold to him as well. So, and I don't think Cunha won't have crossed paths with Amorim before, will he? So I mean, this just gives me confidence for Gyokeres, really, because I think it's I think it's a real positive. But I like Cunha. You know what? I think obviously we're all locked in on this. What's next? Because there does need to be something next. But when I think about Cunha wearing a Man United shirt, or I see the pictures of it, let's not underestimate how powerful that is as a signing. I really do remember saying this, back in October. We were talking about what type of player we'd like at Man United. I just like him. I like his aggression. I like his passion. I like his ability. I like his age. I like his experience in the Premier League. I think he's ready to take the step up. He's into the Brazil squad now. I think we don't have a great record with Brazilian players at Manchester United, to be fair. But I think he's perfect for what we need. And we need more players which is why I think Mbeumo is a good signing as well. I think, again, it's a player with the right mentality, ready to step up at the right age. So I'm very happy with Cunha. Very, very happy with it. Many sources saying Mbeumo to Spurs is strong news. How true is that? But those sources, mate. I actually spoke to those sources today, this evening, about an hour ago. Every one of those sources who say that Spurs are in for Manchester United, I spoke to them about an hour ago. You know where I spoke to them? I had fish and chips for my tea, and I fancied a bit of ketchup on it. So I went into my cupboard, and next to the ketchup was all these sources talking about Mbeumo to Spurs and snubbing Manchester United, because that's all they are. Condiment sources. They're not proper sources. They're not one person. Sky Sports. Oh my God. In all due respect to Sky, they're great for coverage. They're awful for transfer news, and they have been for ages. When was the last time Sky broke a transfer story? Come on, they're awful. They're cutting back on that side of things. They're employing influencers now. I watched it in the January transfer window. Had some guy I bloody played football at Villa with, who's like a Villa fan channel, talking about transfers. So they haven't got good transfer information there anymore. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about. If you want to worry about it, I can't stop you, but I'm not worried about it. Read what Cunha said, and Mbeumo's doing the same. He wants to come and play for Manchester United. So I don't see this changing. I really don't. Nico wants to join Barca. What next for Rashi, says Thornster. If Nico Williams goes to Barcelona, then Rashford's not got a club. Hi, Mark. Off topic, but is it nice? It's nice not seeing Amorim doing a bloody interview every day, says Connor. He must be so bored, Amorim. He must be so bored. He must not know what to do. He must be walking around the beach talking to himself with a piece of wood. Yeah, not that. But be walking around with this, like this, just talking. KC, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Evan says, I don't get the Mbeumo need. Use that to get Edison. Imagine Gyokeres, Cunha, Bruno, Edison and Agate. Mike JW says, evening legends. Big shout out to our legendary mods and thank you for everything you do. Lovely message there. Lovely message. Robert McCormack says, good price Garnacho going to Napoli now, says Robert. Well, I hope they're not watching the United stand, but what did I say to you? Or maybe I tweeted it. We've been very good on the Garnacho story. The morning after the final, 100% leaving. We were ahead of Romano and everyone on that. I think it was last weekend, or maybe I said it on this show. Napoli by the end of the month. So that's what I expect to happen. Apparently he is interested in staying in the Premier League, but I don't know where he'd go in the Prem. That's the thing. There's talk of Aston Villa. I think that would be a great move for him. And I don't think it's offensive to Manchester United. But I don't think Man United are going to want Garnacho in the Premier League, really, because it's different loaning somebody for 6 months. But you imagine Garnacho going to Aston Villa and, you know, winning Young Player of the Year or something like that. It just makes us look absolutely stupid. Arsenal, I don't know that Arsenal are looking for someone like Garnacho, really. I think they're looking for... Well, they were looking for Nico Williams, weren't they? But I don't know what the latest is on that. Have you been to Norway, says Stig? No, I'd like to, though. Andy says, we'll get Mbeumo and Gyokeres. Reason we pay silly wages to compensate for being shit. Spurs changing managers don't change where he'll be best played, says Andy. I mean, Andy, I've got to say, I mean, it's quite a negative message, but also I think it's quite an accurate message as well. I think you're absolutely spot on. We still pay good wages. Who's Spurs' top earner? Well, I can have a look. You know, people are going, he's gonna drop his interest in Manchester United because he wants to follow Thomas Frank to Tottenham. Yet Tottenham top earner is Son, 190 grand a week. James Maddison, 170k a week. Romero, 165 grand a week. I mean, they're not going to give him 200 grand a week and break their record. They're going to probably want to give him 170 grand a week. Man United will give him 200. So Spurs don't pay great wages compared to what we pay as well. So, yeah. Tab says, just started watching only to hear you talk about Amorim and his piece of wood. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm out of context a little bit. Should have thought that one through. Derek says, with Barcelona going for Williams, could we see a buy-in bid for Rashford? I know for a fact he was close to a move in 23, just before he extended with us. I think Rashford's going to end up going on loan. I mean, look, Rashford would do well at Bayern Munich. I'm one of those people that sits here and says Barcelona, Rashford would be a good move for Barcelona. Obviously, he's not going to bench Rafinha and Yamal, but I mean, God, imagine Barcelona with Nico Williams, Rafinha and Yamal, by the way. Bloody hell. But I think Rashford would be probably more suitable for them because Rafinha, for me, probably should win the Ballon d'Or. So I think Rashford at Barcelona would be a good move for them and a cheap move. I think Rashford at PSG would be a good move. He probably wouldn't start. He wouldn't, would he? They don't need him. Bayern Munich, I think he'd do very well at Bayern Munich as well. But yeah, I think look, the Bundesliga is not difficult beyond 4 or 5 teams. La Liga is not difficult beyond 4 or 5 teams. If you're Bayern Munich, if you're Barcelona. If you're Real Betis, La Liga's difficult because there's a lot, you know, you're not at that level. So he could do really well there. Eric Dyer plays for fucking Bayern Munich, for God's sake. So yeah, it would be a good move, and I think he'd do really well. And I think it would be a good move for him for the World Cup, especially with Tuchel being German. But I don't know whether anyone's going to give us the money. I think it's going to end up being a loan move. I saw Pogba's gone to Monaco, Amaral. I hope he does well. Joe Wright says Spurs have bid 70 million. Spurs TV, says Mickey, really... Have they got Spurs TV? What's Spurs bloody TV? Who's watching that? Spurs TV, really confident Mbeumo reuniting with Thomas Frank at Spurs. Frederick Guerrero telling him his player is thinking strongly on options, says Mickey. Mate, I genuinely think, and we haven't said this yet because it's so bloody obvious, Man United are trying to get the price down. Brentford, Spurs have just took Brentford's manager. I think there's compensation there. What makes you think Spurs wouldn't help Brentford out to try and, you know, soften the blow of taking Thomas Frank? What makes you think Brentford aren't going to start putting rumours out there about other clubs? The only person that matters in this, I don't give a toss about Spurs. Well done if you've offered 70 million. And I don't give a toss about Brentford. Well done. You deserve whatever you can get. But the only person that matters is Mbeumo. If he wants to change his mind and go to Spurs, good luck, mate. Off you pop. That says a lot about your mentality. I ain't going to cry if this shock happens, but I don't think it will happen. I really, really don't. Because I think he's chosen Manchester United over Spurs, Newcastle and Arsenal because he wants to come to Manchester United. And I don't think that's going to change just because Thomas Frank has moved to Spurs. Oh, but it's Thomas Frank. Well, he was leaving Thomas Frank at Brentford. I just follow it logically. David Ornstein said he turned down Spurs, Newcastle and Arsenal because he wants to come to Manchester United. All three of those clubs are in the Champions League, by the way. Spurs, Newcastle and Arsenal, all in the Champions League, and he chose Man United. So he's already choosing what looks like, the surprising option. And now we're being told, oh, he does want to go to Spurs now because Thomas Frank's gone there. Hold on a minute. Thomas Frank was at Brentford. He could have just stayed with him. Didn't want to do that, did he? That's how much he bloody loves him. It's a little bit different with Gyokeres because Amrim left. So maybe Gyokeres wants to reunite with Amrim, but Mbeumo was going to leave Thomas Frank. G says Mbeumo never said that. Never said what? David Ornstein said it. He prefers Man United to Newcastle, Spurs and Arsenal. Do your research, mate. Ruben says, I'm sorry, did you just say you keep your ketchup in the cupboard? I can't forgive this. I don't actually. I don't. I keep it in the fridge. I keep it in the cupboard when it's not open. Like when it's not being used. But the live one goes in the fridge. So, yeah, the condiment news with Goldbridge. Thank you very much. Is this true about Nico Williams, then? Let me have a look. I know a good Barcelona site. Oh, it is true. I just saw it. There are a lot of factors that are still to be considered in the Nico Williams future. Strong interest from other clubs, record contract renewal offer from Athletic Club, financials involved in the transfer. Saga has returned Fabrizio Romano. Nico Williams has opened the door to a Barcelona move. His agent delivered this message to the club in the meeting today. Last year it was Barcelona who wanted Nico, but now the roles seem to have reversed. It's a lot of money for Barcelona to do that, though. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's an interesting transfer. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that at all. What do you think about people saying that Man United are getting closer to a deal for Mbeumo? We couldn't be much bloody closer. We're already, I mean, again, I don't know where, I've seen a few people talking about this. It's just, you can't be proved wrong. Oh, Man United are getting closer to a deal with Gyokeres. I'm hearing that Man United are getting closer to a deal with Gyokeres. Put that on aggregators. UTD exclusive, Mark Goldbridge. Gyokeres, we're getting closer to a deal with Gyokeres. I'll never get proved wrong on that, because if it doesn't happen, I'll say, oh, yeah, we were getting close and then we backed off, or we were getting close and somebody offered more money. We're getting closer to a deal with Mbeumo. We're already fucking close. How close do you want to be when David Ornstein 2 weeks ago drops that he's chosen Man United and United are now in talks with Brentford? It's pretty fucking close, I mean, yeah, we've just got to make an offer that Brentford won't refuse, really. Kevin says, the real question is, when do we get Mbeumo, who we go, so we could move on to Gyokeres and get to know what striker we actually get? As I said, Kevin, I think with the striker situation, we can't really do anything until Gyokeres and Sporting sort out whatever issue they've got going on with each other. We can't bid on something where the people who are selling it are arguing about what it's worth. You can't buy a house, a car, or anything until the people who are selling it agree what they're going to sell it for. Happy Pogba is able to find a club and play again, says Jide. Yeah, I think with Pogba, I always liked Pogba. I mean, anybody who's watched the channel knows that. I think he was a fantastic talent. I know a lot of people didn't like him, and a lot of people did like him, Player FC, etc. But for me, I just was like, it was an amicable parting of ways that needed to happen. It wasn't toxic from my side, and I hope he does well. Sammy says, just wondering, if we sell Anthony for 30, can we spend the 30 and it goes down on our books as a 10 million loss or not, says Sammy. I'm not really sure how it works. If you sell a player for 30 and their book value is 30, it just means for FFP and PSR purposes, it doesn't give you 30 million on the books that you can spend, but you've still got the 30 million coming in. So the money still goes into the club. It's just for FFP and PSR reasons, it's not 30 million of profit. So it's weird, it's weird. I think it gets very complicated for people because if you think about it, PSR and FFP is like this. You can only spend £20 million this summer. But then I sell Anthony for 30. I can still only spend £20 million this summer, but I've got £30 million in my pocket. And that's how PSR and FFP works. You've got the 30 million, but because you bought him for 80, you've not made any profit on it, on his book value, but you've still got 30 million quid, but you can't add that to the 20. So you've got 30 million quid, but you haven't got the 20. So, but you can only spend the 20. Basically, it's the rules of FFP and PSR in many ways are... Look, there's a large part of me with it, and I know we're waiting on the City case, but, I mean, City basically are accused of inflating sponsorship deals so they could get revenue into their football club to buy players. Sponsorship deals through third-party companies they owned. Inflated sponsorship deals. It's not right. You're not meant to do that. But I do think that something needs to change because realistically, we wouldn't be owned by the Glazers and Sir Jim Radcliffe if they changed the rules and said you can spend what you like. Because if you could spend what you like, the richest owner would win. But then you've got to have some sort of parameters in, haven't you? But I just think every club should be allowed to spend £300 million every summer. I think that's the way to do it. Everybody gets to spend £300 million every summer. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If the Glazers put up a pound for every innuendo tonight, we'd be debt-free, Mark, says Will Scott. Ruben says, also, I don't understand the splitting of hairs with Mbeumo. Yes, understand not getting mugged by Brentford, but what they're asking for is reasonable. Yeah, I agree, Ruben. I've got no problem with £60 million for Brentford. I've got no problem about the Spurs story. I just don't believe it. And I've got no problem with people who want to get stressed by it. But I think some of us, we've played the game and we've been in this situation so many times. So many times we've been in this situation whereby we've... Look, I remember Harry Maguire, Leicester, 6 weeks. I remember Pogba, Juventus, 6 weeks. I remember Agate. It was about 2 months. Like, 2 weeks. It's not even 2 weeks with Mbeumo. So, but we fall into the same trap all the time. We start panicking. I remember with Pogba, there was talk of Real Madrid the whole time. There's so many players that we've been going for and somebody else comes in for, I'm not worried. I'm genuinely not worried. I think, the Gyokeres transfer is more, I'm 90% sure we're going to get Mbeumo. And I'll tell you why. You don't have to agree with me and you don't have to follow me and you don't have to blame me if it doesn't happen. But my personal opinion is that we're 90% of the way with Mbeumo because the player wants to come to us. So when you've got that, it puts you in a strong position to negotiate. And look, Man United probably shouldn't be doing it, but they'll be sat there in a position of strength going, he wants to come to us. He wants to come to us, so let's do a deal. Because all this Spurs talk and Newcastle talk, he doesn't want to go. There's a risk if he changes his mind, but I don't think he will. And that's why I'm very, very confident on it. With Gyokeres, it's a little bit different because there is this sort of grey area of Champions League football. He's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. Is there anybody else interested in him? So with that, and also I think it's a massively important signing. But as soon as we hear that Gyokeres wants to sign for Manchester United, that's game over. We just negotiate with Sporting. And that's exactly what's happened with Cunha and Mbeumo. They both wanted to sign for Manchester United, so I'm confident. Liam Delap, it never came out, did it? Liam Delap never was like, I want to play for Man United. He wanted to go and talk to all the clubs. He wanted to do it. He went to Forest, he went to Newcastle, he went to Everton. Remember he was pictured at Everton Stadium? I mean, there's a guy who really didn't know what he wanted and then ended up with Chelsea, didn't he? Love to see Ten Hag developing our academy lads this pre-season. That's the real sustainable future. Which young player are you backing? Says Maurice. Ten Hag. What about Vlahovic? Available for cheap. I just don't want Vlahovic, DV. There's something about Vlahovic. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't want him. I just don't want him. Enjoy the shows, Mark. Dean Cahill and my dad, John Cahill here. Keep up the good work, mate. Thank you very much, Dean. Look, I tell you what, loving the shows at the moment. 8 o'clock shows throughout the summer. Really, really enjoying it, and always appreciate the company at all times, but especially on the evening show. It's always a good old chat, especially on a Friday night. So thanks everyone who's tuning in. You're absolute legends. It's a funny thing actually. Like, I've been doing this for a long time now, but I'm actually just sat in a room looking at a laptop screen. But it's never felt like that. I always feel like we're actually interacting. That reminds me, actually, it's very niche this, but if you liked my FIFA, I will call it FIFA for my FIFA because that was the prime FIFA career mode. Remember, I started a TUSFC career mode that did really, really well a few years ago. Well, I did another one for EAFC 25, and then I was uploading them as 10-minute videos. I actually have me up front and got injured in the championship. I picked it up and started playing it again. I played a couple of games today. Really enjoying it. What's your take on Mainu's future? Says Greasy. My take on Mainu's future has always been it's dangerous when they're going to announce it because it will be like a new signing, but he will sign that contract. I think it's a get out of jail card for Man United if the window starts to go bad. They can just go, hey, Mainu's signing a new contract. And I have been saying that since January. I think Mainu is a bit of a PR piece for Ineos to go, oh, we might sell him. We might sell him. Look at Garnacho. We might sell him. And then you go, we've got him on a new contract. And everyone goes, oh, it's like a new signing. So I think with Mainu, he 100% will stay. But I hope they just announce it and it doesn't get a load of hype. I mean, I'll be very happy when they announce it, but I don't want it to be like a new signing because we've failed in other areas. I think what will happen with Mainu is we won't buy a midfielder, so our midfielder will be the contract for Mainu because the roster is, as I've said before, Bruno, Collier, Casemiro, Agate, Mainu. We've got enough midfielders. There's 5 there. I think Collier might go this summer, maybe a loan or something, but we've still got enough midfielders. I don't like the balance of that midfield, by the way. I do not like the balance of that midfield, but I just can't see us buying a midfielder with all those players staying. What's your go-to hair of the dog cure, says Mickey? A good smoothie, cup of tea, some substance in the morning, stodge, porridge, bit of maple syrup on it. And if I remember, a big glass of water and a couple of paracetamol just before we go to sleep. What do you think of the new kit, Mark? The only thing noticeable is the white stripes replaced with black and Theatre of Dreams on the back. Brody, I like Seb really likes the kit. I have a feeling that the third kit is going to be very nice, but the home kit to me looks very, I don't know whether it's an age thing. It looks very similar to every other kit that we've had recently. Well, it looks very similar to the kit we've just had. If United are smart, they should have the Gyokeres deal done and shirts ready to sell for the pre-season game in Sweden, says Whackim. Yeah, that would be very, very smart. We should buy this young striker, Tony Martial, says PZ. I mean, I don't want to go down nostalgia, but remember that front three of Greenwood, Rashford and Martial. I thought we were going to take on the world. And then you look at... The sad thing about that front three is it's the only season in the last 7 years where we've scored loads of goals. I think all 3 of them were like in the Premier League over 50 goals between 3 of them. And you look at that, and that was only 5 years ago. So much potential, says Mini Brew. So you've got Rashford, Garnacho, and Martial as a Rashford, Greenwood, and Martial as a front three 5 years ago. They were all in their early 20s or a teenager. And you look at where we are now, and every one of them failed. And you just go, how have we managed that? 3 of them were absolutely cooking, and we didn't even keep one on the straight and narrow. That's massive. It's amazing when you think of it like that. Rashford's fell off, obviously. Martial fell off, and we know what happened with Greenwood. It's just... I do think that we don't talk about that enough, because I think it comes down to the club. Martial spoke about how he was forced to play when he was injured and never really recovered from that. Rashford, I think there's 101 things that could have been done differently there. And Greenwood, you know, again, I know a lot of things that were going on during COVID with not just him and things they were up to. And I just think, I think the club's got to look at itself, and hopefully that's something that can change now, because a lot of our players just haven't had the discipline and professionalism required. And some of that comes down to fitness as well. You know, the fitness department, of course it does in the case of Martial. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic show tonight. Of course, if anything happens, we'll go live. We're back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I'm going to go and play a little bit more TUSFC. And I will speak to you all very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Absolute legends in the chat. Stay safe. And I'll speak to you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, don't forget to check out the Sleeper app. Scan the QR code. It's well worth a try.